Jim McClellan is the academic director of the Dun&Dishpandy Queen's Innovation Center. Jim is the co-founder of the DDQIC, longtime professor of chemical engineering. Jim played a foundational role in building Kingston's innovation ecosystem and advancing entrepreneurship across Queens and beyond. And we're so grateful for that contribution, Jim. Ben, who was just up at the podium, is the investment manager focusing on the life science sector at Kingston Economic Development. Ben is a senior economic developer leading that focus. With over 2 decades experience, he leads an investment attraction and ecosystem development efforts that continue to position Kingston as a growing hub for health and life sciences. Someone who hasn't spoken, but is always a pleasure to have her here, Morgan Latham, is Executive Director of Reaction Hub. She leads a national effort to scale clean tech innovation from lab to industry. A former PhD founder, she is a recognized leader in sustainable innovation and a strong advocate for building inclusive, collaborative ecosystems. And finally, someone who is a past winner. We always like to bring back somebody who has lived your experience. Emil Matthew is CEO and founder of Perceivable. He's a Queen's Engineering student and the 2025 Mayor's Innovation Challenge winner. Co-founder of Perceivable, a startup focused on accessibility and inclusive design, is already translating his ideas into world impact. So we're so pleased to have you here. These individuals don't just evaluate ideas, they build, invest, and scale them. So you've got a great panel of judges to provide insight to you. All right. Just some quick information. So we do have a full day. We've got 8 teams. Each will present their idea either in a video or in a presentation, and that'll be followed by a moderated question and answer period by the judges. We're gonna do a break probably in between the 4th and 5th presentation, and then at the end, there'll be some time for deliberation, lunch will be served, and then we'll reconvene back here for the actual announcements of the winners. The prizes, that's always really important. So there are 2 prizes. There's the Dun&Dishpandy Queen's Innovation Center prize. That gives you entrance into the QFII program, so that's their summer program. An incredible program of learning. They bring in guest speakers, mentors to help you grow your company, training, and the opportunity to access seed fundings through pitches. Great program. The other is the Public Sector Innovation Prize. That prize is sponsored by Bell. That's the $10,000 to advance your idea and an entry into the summer company program through Kingston Economic Development. That's a great prize. These are not just prizes though, these are just really a launch pad for your business. So we're very excited about that. But before we get into the first pitch, we do have something else to actually share. I'd like to take a moment just to ground us in the challenge that this really represents, what we're doing here today. Innovation doesn't really start at one particular age. It really starts with curiosity and the drive to actually make a difference. Last year, the city actually launched the Mayor's Innovation Challenge Junior Edition. And we saw some incredible pitches. Young innovators have stepped forward with ideas, with courage, and a willingness to act. I want to just take a moment to highlight the incredible collaboration we've had with the Boys and Girls Club of Southeast. This program targets young entrepreneurs from 9 to 15. They have a 12-week program to actually learn about how to develop ideas. They form teams, they explore the strategic plan of the city. Imagine, I certainly wasn't looking at strategic plans when I was 10 years old, but just incredible. They work through the whole innovation process. They identify the problem, they come up with a solution, they built a prototype, they had actually robots that worked. It was just incredible. And then they pitched to a panel of judges just like this esteemed panel right here. It's an incredible example of how early entrepreneurship in our community can really happen. So we're very fortunate to have the winners from last year here today. They're gonna do a little pitch just to show you what they've done. So it's my very great pleasure to welcome up the Triage Bot team.
Hello, what is it? Uh, yeah. So, my name is Ryan, and this is Fitsum, and our project is called TriageBot. Imagine having something like this mole on your arm, but having to wait months to find out if it's serious and to get medical attention.
Meet the triage bot. It's a smart triage system that helps doctor assess patients faster using AI so that patients could have a faster diagnosis. Our robot drives to users because disabled people can still so that disabled people can still use it without having to stand up. And the AI analyzes visual symptoms and by using a camera, and then the user speaks or types their symptoms that the camera can't see, and the AI listens and interprets the spoken and typed symptoms, and the doctor evaluates this condition and decides the treatment.
We used AI trained on medical data to help analyze the symptoms that a patient may be feeling. We're looking at images to better understand visible conditions like rashes, and we have an app to collect patient information, ensuring that it's streamlined and private. Our plan for Kingston would be when a patient with a problem comes and they book an appointment, waiting 2 to 4 weeks to meet a GP. Our robot will help the GP getting basic diagnosis for triage, and now a period that would take 6+ months is significantly reduced. That means they can find a specialist faster and get a diagnosis more quickly.
So 10,000 Kingstonians right now live in Kingston without a GP, and this robot can act as a temporary GP that helps get a preliminary diagnosis. It helps the specialist by running tests on the patient to give info to help the specialist diagnose the patient. Kingston is struggling with long wait times right now, and the triage bot helps fix that by diagnosing patients, speeding up care, and reducing system strain without cost of hiring more doctors. We also implement this in rural areas because rural areas need more high quality care. So this robot can be deployed in different places around Ontario that are rural too.
We'll start by implementing this in the Queen's Family Medicine Department because since it's one clinic, it's easy to start and its academic setting allows for more likely openness to our product. Because it's a big name, it'll help with endorsement getting into private clinics. Then we'll move into family medicine clinics with a general practitioner is where to deploy the product first. Will help with basic diagnosis, triaging, and key info. It will help increase care time and shorten wait times. Then we'll deploy at KGH, helping specialists handle extra appointments and tests, saving up time for them to do important things like diagnosing. Then we'll expand. We'll keep all the markets we talked about previously, but we'll also expand beyond Kingston to help more people in different areas of the world. Our total available market is 12 to 15 billion. Our serviceable available market is 4 to 6 billion, and our serviceable obtainable market is 20 to 30 million. This shows how greatly this issue affects people around the world and how our robot could help them.
This is a team Fitzim Tefera and Ryan Varma. We thank BDC for the, making this project possible, and we credit them for all the achievements we had. Healthcare wait times aren't just an inconvenience, they cost people their health. We believe TriageBot can change that.
Thank you for listening. We sold the clip.
Well done, guys. Thank you very much. Maybe just before you go, I see some of the judges are just angling to maybe ask some questions. Your worship.
Thanks, guys. I had the pleasure of seeing your pitch last year in the junior edition of the MIC, and we were all super impressed with the idea. Do you have any idea, like, how much one of the bots will cost?
So we're thinking of doing it as a subscription service because the software in there is also in there. So we think maybe upfront the boss should cost around $4,000, and then the subscription service should be another added sum of like $2,000 per year for like a few of them.
Great, thank you.
Jim?
Yeah, really, really well done pitch and impactful idea. Have you thought, I was really interested in trying to help in the rural areas and say north of Kingston. Have you thought a bit about how you would actually use your robot diagnosis, say up in Charlotte Lake or Verona or something?
Yeah. So if we send models of the robot over there, then it can act sort of as a doctor because it's able to use cameras and microphones and all that to assess patient symptoms. And that way, it'll be able to diagnose patients or at least give some help without needing a full-on doctor.
Okay, thank you.
I'll take one next. Amazing job. I've watched many, many pitches, and there's often many that are, not very clear. That was extremely clear and to the point. So great job. One of the most important things always when you're coming with an idea is thinking about risks and how do you mitigate the challenges that are going to come up. What do you think is the biggest challenge of getting your first robot out into the world?
So a lot of times AI isn't trusted for making medical decisions, which is why we're running all the decisions through with doctors before we start it, and why this doesn't make the real diagnosis, but it simply helps the doctors coming to a conclusion faster, and that's how it works.
Ben?
I have a quick question. So, people fear new things and new adoptions, and, have you risked how people are going to interact with the robot, if it's going to be friendly, the look and feel when people are talking to it?
So I think we have to start with doctors and the robot coming into the room together, helping the patient understand what it does, and then slowly we'll start to phase out the doctors on the first visit and just stick with the robot.
Guys, thank you very much. What an incredible, I really appreciate you guys coming in on your March break. You're giving up for fun. And I can't help but I see your proud parents here. Thank you so much to all of you for allowing them to come in today, bring them in, but also being encouraged, providing encouragement to them to be entrepreneurs. This is really quite incredible. So thank you very much. A big round of applause for them. So let's get down to it. First pitch of the morning, Pinpoint. Come on up.
Hello.
This one's for forward and backward? Yeah. Okay, forward. Okay. Okay, got it. Thank you.
So good morning, everybody. We are delighted to be here. I'm Ayush, one of the 4 co-founders of Pinpoint, and we are revolutionizing student housing in Kingston. So before I start, let me introduce my team. Madhav, Farhan, and Om. If you go to Google and search, what's the #1 problem in Kingston? The answer you get is simple: housing crisis. Every headline says the same thing. But here's what those headlines miss. It's not just expensive, it's way too hard to find. Right now, it seems much more easier to go to Mars and colonize it than to find housing in Kingston. And the reason is simple. Housing markets are scattered across platforms. For students and newcomers, coming to Kingston means reading through each and every listing descriptions, messaging landlords, and waiting hours or sometimes even days for replies just to see what's available. It takes so much time and effort, and you are not even guaranteed to find room or apartment you want. On top of that, Queen's University ended its Queen's Landlord Contract Program in 2022. So it no longer maintains a contracted landlord network. Students and newcomers are largely left to evaluate listings by themselves. Just imagine how it feels. It's your first time here in the country. You're standing outside the apartment you're supposed to live in. With two suitcases in hand, you watch someone else open the door. The listing was fake and the deposit is gone. And no one is ready to take the responsibility. This isn't a made-up story. This is the story of my friend Om. And we all know there are so many stories like this. And you cannot even blame the landlord because they are forced to put their listings on Facebook, Kijiji. They have to manage hundreds of messages by themselves, hundreds of viewings by themselves. They deserve something better.
And to solve this, we're building Pinpoint. We centralize everything, and all of our listings come from verified sources and go into one platform. We also help students find roommates. We handle verifications. We also have a dedicated space for subleases. And this means that you don't have to go through all those websites now. You can just go directly to Pinpoint. In the next slide, we're going to take a quick look at how Pinpoint actually works.
Visit Pinpoint. You're welcomed by a clean and intuitive dashboard. Simply sign in to get started. Once you're in, you'll land on the listings page, where you can view housing options from all verified sources in one place. You can easily filter by source, pinpoint listings, partner listings, or subleases, so you only see what's relevant to you. We've also added an Ask AI feature that works both in English and French. Just type what you're looking for and Pinpoint instantly filters the results. There's no need to read through every description to see if it's a fit now. Beyond just finding a room, Pinpoint also helps you find compatible roommates. And if you want a better sense of location, you can switch to map view to visualize listings around the city. For landlords, every listing on Pinpoint goes through an industry standard verification process, helping prevent scams and ensuring a safer experience for everyone. All in one place, verified, simple, and built for students.
Now, you may be thinking that we are just an MVP, right? But we are not. We are already supported by Student Association at St. Lawrence College. Our posters is all over St. Lawrence College getting real user feedbacks. We have also invited to CFRC, Queen's Radio Station, to talk about Pinpoint and how we are solving student housing problem. So we are already building trust within the community. So judges, let me tell you why student housing market is so broken in Kingston and where the Pinpoint fits in. So if you are a student looking for housing in Kingston, you have got two choices and neither one works. Your choice one is Facebook Marketplace and Kijiji. They have hundreds of listings, but zero verification. You'll never know which listing is real, which listing is fake. Your second choice is verified platforms like Jumper, Apartments.com, but they have very limited student housing. Averaging, and also, they are very expensive, averaging around $1,300 per rent. As a student, I cannot afford to spend $1,300 just on my rent. So what does this mean? Facebook and Kijiji have listings but no trust. And verified platforms have trust but no affordable student housing. So that's where the Pinpoint fits in.
We're targeting Pinpoint toward two main user groups: students and newcomers who need verified housing they can trust, as well as landlords who need a proper dashboard. And also, We're targeting Pinpoint toward people who have no local or prior knowledge of Kingston. It'll help them browse the Kingston housing market. There are around 27,000 students in Kingston who live off campus, each with an average of $675 paid per month for the rent for an 8-month lease. This generates a total of $146 million in revenue of off-campus housing per year. Pinpoint monetizes by targeting landlords, so students don't pay a single penny. We charge $15 per verified lead, $25 per month for featured listings, as well as $199 for listings posted during the peak May season. We're offering a solution to the $146 million problem by offering everyday solutions to an everyday problem.
So this is Pinpoint. We are not just building an app. We are building trusted housing market for students. We are building community. And we are making Kingston safer, simpler, and trusted for students. Pinpoint for solving your housing pain points. Thank you.
Great presentation. We'll open it up for questions. Just going to get us started. Your Worship?
I'll start. Great presentation, guys. Really, I mean, you've hit what is definitely a critical issue in the community. I'm just curious to know if you've had any local outreach, or if you've been able to connect with anyone locally, like for example, the Kingston Rental Association. So it's basically a local organization of landlords. It'd be really interesting to kind of get their input and kind of buy in. Is there anybody you've been able to connect with locally in terms of trying to get their feedback to this point?
So yeah, while building the Pinpoint, we reached out to several realtors around the Kingston. We took their feedback, and then after we knew that the problem which we are solving is very serious. And they gave us really good idea of how we can start our business in the early phase, because realtors are the person who have access to both tenants and landlords. So if we can reach out to them, connect to them, then rather than going door to door, we can get to a large amount of people just through the agent and brokerages.
Great. Jim?
Again, very strong presentation. I particularly like the motivation at the front end and that sort of personalized experience. I'm just interested on your revenue generation, and so just digging into a bit more of the detail on how the landlords are going to pay. Is it going to be a flat fee? Is it going to be some kind of a percentage, or have you thought about that?
That's a great question. So while building the application, we were so focused on that. Initially, we were not thinking about the revenue. And the way we are charging landlords is with the listings, you don't need to pay anything. But with every tenant lead, you have to pay like $15. And we also talked to several landlords, and we asked them if you are ready to pay. And they said, if you are providing us verified site, if you are verifying all of our tenants, then we are ready to pay more than that. So it's the least amount we put, but yeah, for now, but there are other sources of incomes as well, but these are the top 3 sources through which we can do our revenue.
Just to add on to that question of revenue model, so you said each landlord gets a tenant lead. What's stopping the landlord from getting that lead or messaging the tenant and then exiting your site and going to, I don't know, a text message?
The thing is, we will have text message system as well. But the problem right now with especially the Facebook and Kijiji is you just put the listings and there is absolutely no verification from both tenants and landlord side. So with our app, we have verification on the both side, which means even if they do negotiation within the app, we will know if there is anything related to fraud or scams happen. And right now, we are also implementing one payment system, which means we will be holding first month and last month payment, and only release that payment to the landlord when the landlord shifts. That will help to prevent like 90% of these scams. And yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Ben?
One quick question. You talked about verifying the landlords and the tenants. Is that through credit checks or physical checks of the properties?
So first verification we would do is about the identity. and we do through something called Stripe identity, which is the industry level verification. So landlords certainly, they comes to our app, they click verification, and our app will redirect them to the Stripe page, and Stripe will verify them, store their everything, so we don't store any private documents or something. And they're gonna send us the data if the people are verified or not.
Morgan.
Really quickly, have you thought through what your relationship could be with kind of property management groups that have multiple, because one perspective, they could be a competitor, but another perspective, they could be a partner. How have you thought through that side?
Thank you for the question. So when we talk to the realtors, and both tenants and landlords, they go to the realtors, and let's say I'm a tenant, I go to the, or maybe I'm a landlord, go to the realtor. Right now, they have to suggest platforms like Kijiji, Facebook, to post their site. And when we talk to them, they literally said, if you guys are building a platform that provides verification, we will be more than happy to give the suggestion about your app, because it will help them build credibility. And especially in the student housing, they don't get any greater margin of commissions. But with the Pinpoint, there are higher chances that they will build credibility and they can do better for themselves as well.
All right, thank you very much, guys. Well done. Off to a strong start. All right, next up is Kingston Sun Safety Squad. Welcome.
All right. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Thank you so much for having us here today. My name is Megan Lowe, and I'm here with my team, the Sun Safety Squad, to share our pitch on Kingston Sunscreen Dispenser Initiative, a public health solution targeted to improve sun protection and prevent skin cancer. Today here, I have Cheryl as well as Harmeet, and we are Queen's medical students, and with our passion for public health, we believe the solution could be very possible here today.
Okay, so to get started, to understand our initiative, it's first important to understand the background and where this idea comes from. So what exactly is the problem? Across Canada, skin cancer is actually the most commonly diagnosed type of cancer, and we see over 80,000 new diagnoses across the country. And this includes diagnoses such as basal cell carcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma, as well as melanoma. Melanoma specifically accounts for 5% of all skin cancer types, and this makes it the most rare yet most malignant form of skin cancer that exists. And so overall, despite the rising prevalence of all different types of skin cancer, decades of research actually shows that by working towards reducing UV exposure, we can reduce the risk of developing skin cancer in the community. And this is where our project comes in, and we're proposing that providing free access to sunscreen in the community can serve as a harm reduction method, as well as provide equitable access to all community members despite their SES background. And what makes skin cancer unique is the fact that it's one of the most preventable skin cancers that exists. And with early prevention, as well as a focus on reducing UV exposure, again, through means such as applying sunscreen regularly as recommended by a dermatologist, so that's a very easy means to reduce UV exposure, we can actually play an active role in reducing the risk and prevalence of skin cancer rates in the Kingston community. And pictured here is Dr. Yuka Asai. With her support, we hope to bring this project to Kingston. She is a leading dermatologist in our city, and she's also the chair of the Division of Dermatology at Queen's University. And Dr. Asai believes that increasing access to sunscreen in public spaces across Kingston is a simple and effective way to support sun safety and our community's health.
So working with Dr. Asai, as well as other community dermatologists here in Kingston, we've observed firsthand how sun exposure affects patients of all ages. The inspiration for this idea specifically stems from us spending multiple summers here, watching all of our local Kingston tanning, and I'm sure as you have as well, and again, in very few shaded areas with little to no sunscreen readily available. So our solution is simple: free public sunscreen dispensers in these high-traffic outdoor areas in Kingston. In partnership with the Savior Skin Foundation, as well as with the City of Kingston, this model can be proven through their successful installation of 75 dispensers across Canada since 2022, with positive feedback from municipal partners. So how will this work in Kingston? Well, we propose installing 10 sunscreen dispensers, again, in high-traffic outdoor areas across Kingston, collaborating with the City of Kingston as well as Kingston Tourism to identify these optimal locations and to support maintenance. These dispensers would be provided with Health Canada-approved broad-spectrum mineral SPF 30 sunscreen from the Green Cricket, a Canadian-based company. These sunscreen dispensers can be hands-free, adaptable with a stand, as well as mounted on a pole as seen here. Not only will we be providing sunscreen dispensers to our local community, but we would also be providing integrated education as well as awareness on sun protection as well as skin cancer prevention. With these labels, with these labels here, we have instructions on how to use our sunscreens as well as the ingredients incorporated, risk assessment, and on the bottom here, a QR code linking you to sun protection resources. So with the $10,000 from the public sector grant, we believe that this can help support the initial implementation and support a projected 3 to 5 year sustainability program. With a low annual refill cost of about $800 a year, this can be supported by the Savior Skin Foundation as well as local Kingston support groups, student groups that can help sustain and expand this access. The responsibilities including installation, maintenance, security, and refills would be managed under this budget from the City of Kingston.
In terms of a more detailed budget breakdown, with the $10,000 as Maggie talked about, half of that, the first $5,000, would go more to upfront costs, including ordering the dispensers themselves, the initial supply, stands, and signage. The rest of that $5,000 would go more to maintenance as well as upkeep of these dispensers. So we would have around $600 for upfront shipping, $1,000 for installation and mounting, as well as $2,400 for allocating to things like sunscreen refills and maintenance. And as Maggie said, these sunscreen dispensers will have a projected cost of around $800 a year, which is an approximate quote from the Save Your Skin Foundation, and this can be expected to last for a supply of between 3 to 5 years. In terms of some potential locations, some areas that we thought would be good choices would be the Gord Downey Pier as well as Breakwater Park because they're super high traffic as well as, not much like shaded area. We also would want to potentially explore Lake Ontario Park and the Confederation Basin Park and marina areas as well. For an approximate summer 2026 rollout timeline, in April we would hope to finalize our partnership with the Save Your Skin Foundation, as well as work with the City of Kingston to establish some final locations. We would also want to order our initial supply during this time period with an approximate shipping time of 6 weeks. This brings us to around mid to late May, where we would hope to coordinate installation logistics and have these dispensers installed in their selected locations. In June, by now it will be peak summer season, so we would hope to have these dispensers fully operational by now with ongoing community benefit. At the same time, as we know, not only having these dispensers available, but also the public awareness and education part is super important to us. So we would want to have news coverage for these dispensers so people know that they're there and available to use, as well as like the importance of why it's important to use them. So we would do that as well. And the Save Your Skin Foundation also has their own media team. Hopefully we can get some coverage with that. For July, we would just hope to have continued community benefit. Going on into August with the peak summer season, we would hope to have these fully operational. And during this time, we can also hopefully evaluate potential expansion opportunities and collaborations with Tourism Kingston as well as the downtown Kingston area.
All right, so why choose our initiative? Well, choosing our initiative would mean choosing a healthier future for Kingston. Evidence from a Canadian pilot study found that when sunscreen dispensables were readily available, that the usage was significant, with 1 in 6 people using these dispensers and a rate of up to 40% usage in family-focused areas such as children's parks. In Kingston, free sunscreen dispensers would not only provide equitable access to sun protection, but also prevent sun damage and prevent skin cancer. It would also support our public health for our Kingston local residents as well as visitors. We believe that this is a simple, feasible, evidence-based public health solution to preventing skin cancer for our community. and we believe that this can be maintainable for a very long-term solution. Thank you so much for having us.
Well done. Questions? I don't know if there's any questions left to answer, so Cyril. Morgan.
Sure, I'll kick it off. If anyone looks at my skin tone, you may acknowledge that I have a very strong relationship with sunscreen and have gone down many rabbit holes of how to, and I'm also a chemist, so how did you do product selection? Because there's so many different types of sunscreens, that costs can vary, the SPF, and I know you had some metrics there of like biodegradable, et cetera. So what was the process of picking it out of sheer interest?
Yeah. Yes, we can share actually. Oh, yes. Yeah, so that's a great question, especially, there are multiple sunscreens out there. There's chemical-based as well as barrier-based ones. We decided to go with the barrier-based, and again, this is in partnership with the Save Your Skin Foundation that has a partnership with Green Cricket, a Canadian-based company that's all natural, fragrance-free. We wanted something to be the most safe for our community, and that's why we went to it with this one out of the multitudes that I'm sure you know of all the other sunscreen there are. Yeah.
Mayor Patterson?
Really cool idea. Like Morgan, I too depend greatly on sunscreen in the summer, and I'm amazed how many times I'm just out and about and I just forget. And I'm like, oh, and I know I need it, and I'm like, where am I going to get some? And so I think I think it's a really, really cool idea. I'm just curious to know a little bit more about the pilot program. Could you give me an indication of maybe a few other communities where this has been rolled out? And are there any other interesting findings that they've found from the pilot program? So for example, are there any issues around like vandalism, damage, theft, or other just maintenance things that as a city we would just want to think about before we would see this program here?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So again, this installation has been in 75 other, let's say, locations, and cities include Montreal. Actually, the pilot program was based out of Quebec, and they observed these sunscreen dispensers for 7-day usage, and that's kind of where they got the numbers of 1 in 6, as well as the 40%. With that, the idea of, okay, what about the vandalism? What about the support of this? The Save Your Skin Foundation, through their support, they're happy to, if there is any damages, they're happy to have us send back the dispensers to them and replace them at their own expense and cost as well. But through their initial statistics as well, they've seen that vandalism is quite low, as well as working with the city of Kingston, that during the winter times when these might not be as used often, that the city could store them and then bring them back when it's around May or so. Yeah.
I had a question, sorry. So you mentioned your runway time is 3 to 5 years with the 10K, I believe. Yes. What happens after that?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. I think in terms of our model, it would be hopefully modeled more after like a nonprofit rather than like more of like a revenue-based model. After 3 to 5 years, hopefully this would be enough time for us to, sort of build up partnerships with the local community as well. Hopefully by the end of that time, we would maybe have sponsorships with like downtown Kingston, as well as like various shops or patios downtown. Hopefully through like these partnerships, we can get some more funding to keep these things going. As well, one of the ideas we talked about was maybe like doing things like hosting ad spaces. So like every single like dispenser could come with like a little billboard or a little ad space as well. And hopefully people could collaborate with that, and that would help get some revenue as well.
Yeah, that would be an option as well. And with the Save Your Skin Foundation for other municipalities, they've also supported, again, that low annual cost. So it's about $800, and they said that they would be happy to, if with granted, to negotiate any supportive costs with that too. Yeah.
Great. Seeing no other questions, thank you very much.
Great, thank you so much.
All right, next up is Driftline. Welcome. Yeah. Do you want to click for now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll just pass it
Sure.
on. Hi everyone, my name is Claire.
I'm Teo.
And today we're going to talk with you guys a little bit about Driftline. So this is my friend Julia. She's a fourth year Queen student as well as a Kingston local. So that means that she's driving every day from home to campus. And over the past few years, here are some of the things that I've heard her say to me. I hit a bump in the road and I spilled my coffee all over myself. There's this one corner that's always so icy. My car goes sliding every time. There's graffiti everywhere now. I see so much driving to campus. Now, Julia is one out of a much larger group. There's over 100,000 more Kingstonians witnessing infrastructure damages every day just on their daily commute. In the first quarter of 2025, over 3,200 potholes have already been repaired in Kingston. In the year of 2024, the City of Kingston dealt with 750 graffiti incidents costing $250,000. And then in the year of 2025, the City of Kingston invested $40 million in infrastructure repair. Now, this represents the significant volume of infrastructure damages and repairs that the city is having to go through every single year. And what is the solution here?
Introducing Driftline, Kingston's crowdsourced data collection tool. So if you're on your way to work and you spill coffee all over yourself, you may want to report that to the city. But instead of having to figure out exactly where the pothole was, if you have a dash cam on your car, you can just upload the footage straight to our dashboard. Then our AI pipelines will be able to detect things on the street, such as infrastructure hazards like potholes and cracks, seasonal related risks like ice, physical obstructions and debris, and urban code violations. In exchange, they would be able to receive gas rebates and other incentives. Here's a demo of the platform. So to start with, you take the footage from your dash cam, upload it to our platform, and then our AI pipeline will analyze every frame and run object detection models on the city infrastructure. Then it will plot all the detections on a bird's eye map of the city. So here you can see it detected different cracks on the route that you took, including different cracks and different types of detections. Finally, it will show an aggregated list of all the different detections and put it into a centralized database for the city to see at a bird's eye view. If you want to have more detail, we have a dedicated viewer that allows an operator to go through that detection in detail and look at all the different instances that the AI model was able to find. So here you can see it was able to find the vertical and horizontal cracks as well as potholes on the route. It's built using two components. There's that web dashboard, and then there's also the AI detection pipeline that uses a object segmentation model called YOLO, and then stores everything in a centralized database.
So this infrastructure issue is a much larger one that can be applied to our entire country across Canada. And thus it provides an opportunity for Driftline to be a piece of Kingston innovation that can be scaled to a much greater market. We're looking at a total addressable market of $10 to $15 billion, which is Canada's annual municipal spending on road infrastructure and related hazard management. Our segment addressable market is the annual City of Kingston spending on infrastructure, transportation, and emergency services, which is about $90 million. And then we're looking at a segment obtainable market of about $35 million, which is the annual City of Kingston spending specifically on road and road-related projects. When we look at Driftline compared to competitors, Driftline is really the only one that does exactly what it does. And one of Driftline's most important features here is that there's absolutely no additional hardware that is needed to implement Driftline, meaning that there's no costs associated with implementing any hardware and maintaining it over the years. Additionally, it provides full city coverage, so wherever Kingstonians go, Driftline covers. There's very low deployment costs again because of no hardware that needs to be implemented or software that needs to be downloaded. It has real-time detection and validation, and it's able to do multi-hazard detection. And it's the only one of its kind that's able to do all of these. At the end of the day, Driftline is made by the community for the community. So in return for uploading dashcam footage, Kingstonians are able to receive gas rebates and fuel rebates advertising for students to drive Kingston forward to own gas turbines to fuel change and fix our streets. And that is Driftline. Thank you for listening.
Great. Jim, kick us off.
A very fascinating idea, certainly one that resonates, and of course, this winter has been, I think, even less kind than previous ones. Do you have a sense of how many cars actually have dash cams? Because that's the thing I'm sort of wondering about.
Yeah, so I can say right off the bat, I don't have an exact number
Sure.
for you at all. I will say that the majority of newer models, if not almost all of them, do have dash cams already built in. And yeah, I think upgrading, yeah.
Because that's the main thing I was just thinking about. Like, if I think about, I've got a hands-free phone and I stick it on the thing, if there's a dash cam capability in my car, I don't think it is. It's 2016. But that was the one thing I was sort of wondering is what fraction of drivers would actually have a dash cam?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that comes to mind is like Tesla vehicles, for example. There's quite a few on the road now, and they just like upload. You can save your entire drive history, and just whenever you see something, you can just flag it and save it. So that would be a common use case as well. As we expand, we could potentially have custom hardware, the cheap thing that you can lease to people in the city, and that will also expand the reach.
Okay, thank you.
Up.
Back to the camera idea. Is there a good job, by the way, first of all. Is there an idea of actually using a smartphone or something instead, like where you could mount it onto your dash and use the footage that way, as opposed to leasing a separate piece of hardware?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a scaling option that we looked at for now. Right now, we were thinking about just what is the most seamless way for citizens to actually use this right now without having to do any extra work. And that was just to use the existing hardware that's already on their cars, that's already filming while they're driving. So that was kind of just our initial thought process with how we decided to go with the dash cam route for now. But smartphones, yes, is definitely an option that we thought of for scaling in the future.
Your worship.
Really interesting, guys. I mean, right now the city's roads are a mess, so I'm already thinking about how technological solutions like this could help us. So this may be kind of a dumb question because I'm just trying to wrap my head around where this works. So if I have a dash cam on my car, what do I have to do? Can I just have that dash cam footage like automatically kind of send stuff in, or do I have to like each time I see something, then I need to stop and flag it? I'm just trying to get a sense of like for the average user, how often do I have to do something versus it's just the AI is just going to do its work?
Yeah, I see that being something that varies across dashcam models and could be a point of friction, but I think most models you can just flag whenever you encounter something, or you can just have it recording the last 24 hours and it's stored on the device, and then just plug it into the computer and we'll have support for as many different models as possible. That is very seamless to just drag and drop and we'll handle the rest.
So to add on to that, maybe like a very simple user journey, what it looks like is you get in your car and you drive for the day. Maybe at the end of the day or at the end of every couple days, you take your footage and you upload it to our website, and that's it for a user. Once the footage is on the website, the AI model will run in the background, detect everything for you. As a user, you don't have to think about any of that. You'll just collect your fuel rebate at the end.
Ben?
Yeah, mine was along the line of how do people report things, but you also talked about in the beginning of the pitch reporting graffiti as well. So it detects graffiti and road hazards.
Yeah, there's a very wide range of things that we could detect as you drive through the city. Like we mentioned, debris and public lights and anything that requires maintenance. And as we collect more data from our pilots, we would be able to build classifiers for our AI model that detects more and more different types of things that the city would benefit from having a bird's eye view of where it needs the most maintenance.
Quick question. Why not work directly with the city in implementing this on the buses? Buses travel everywhere. You could have dash cams on buses, and I know it's tedious to unplug the dash cam, put it into your computer, but if there was an automated way of buses collecting data, crowdsourcing is amazing, but this is you get a wide range of coverage with buses, right? Have you thought about it?
Yeah, that was actually our initial thought, and we pivoted away from that. So we found that while public city vehicles, like buses, for example, did already cover the majority of areas, it didn't cover everywhere. So think about in your neighborhood streets, there's probably not a bus that's going to be driving right down your road. And thus, if you have a pothole in front of your road and your kids can't ride their bikes there and you're struggling to get into the driveway every day, you would have to personally email your city councilor or something like that to get it fixed. So this just reduces the friction of this just reduces the issue of limiting pothole detection or damage detection to the most busy areas. So again, wherever Kingstonians are going, Driftline will detect. That's kind of the reason why we pivoted away from buses.
Just a very quick suggestion to build on that. You might think also about couriers, because I mean, you're right, buses follow specific routes, but couriers these days, I think, especially with Amazon, et cetera, pretty much cover the entire city, I suspect, so.
Yeah, that's a really good idea, I think. Possibly a partnership scaling opportunity in the future. But yeah.
And for your computer vision model, I'm assuming you're using with YOLO, right? What is your accuracy on debris pothole detection, and how did you train that data? Did you use an open source data set?
Yeah, it was an open source data set, a YOLO model specifically trained on road maintenance. We would, as we expand this, we would collect our own data sets based on stuff we want. And yeah, I was gonna say something else, but I forgot.
Can I have one last one? The fuel credit, it sort of stuck with me for a sec. So just sort of thinking of alignment towards sustainability drives in EV use as well. So I'm just wondering if you thought about, you know, a gas credit. It's not going to be much use for me if I bought an EV. So I'm just wondering if you have an idea of what that would be.
Yeah, so when I said gas credit previously, that was just actually me misspeaking. Just use the word gas, but it would be a fuel credit, so for electric charging as well.
And energy, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Outstanding. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Well done. All right, next up. Boy, this is exciting. This is quite a variance of ideas. Next up is Bright Sight. All right, come on up, guys.
All right. This is it. This is the next one. Okay. This is nice. Or is it this way? Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Alex, and this is Hussein, and we are students at Queen's University. A little bit about me is I'm from Waterloo. My father owns an optometry clinic, and I've worked with him for more than a couple years now. And it was there that I first saw the unmet vision needs of the underserved community. I've also worked with youth in the community here at the schools, and I volunteered with youth for a majority of my life.
Me personally, I grew up in a family with deficient eye health and have been a tutor for young people for several years now. Our backgrounds and experiences have inspired us and made clear to us that there is a real health discrepancy in our youth, and we are working to address that. The culmination of our experiences led us to create our nonprofit organization, Brightsight.
We'd like you to meet Layla. Layla is a fake name for a real client we recently supported. She only recently arrived in Canada, and when she first contacted us through email through the Canadian Children's Service Organization. In that email, Layla shared her situation with us. As a newcomer, she was struggling with English, and when she tried to apply for financial help with healthcare, she quickly became overwhelmed by the process. Layla's 11-year-old daughter was struggling in school and in daily activities simply because she could not see properly. Layla herself could not afford new prescription glasses for her daughter and was having difficulty navigating existing programs which are stated to help. Eventually, she came into contact with us. We were able to guide her through our process and book an appointment as soon as possible to help out her daughter. But once everything had been arranged, she asked us one more question. Are you able to help me as well? You see, throughout this entire process, Layla had been prioritizing her daughter's eye care. But when she was assessed as well, it turned out that Layla's own vision issues were even more severe.
Next, we want you to meet John. John is a 7-year-old boy who had been experiencing vision problems. When his family reached out to us, they explained that they were not in a position to put any money towards prescription glasses, and more importantly, they did not realize that vision could be the issue in the first place. John was clumsy, he struggled to read, and was not doing well in school. His family had begun assuming something else was wrong, but we later found out he didn't have any developmental issues or any other behavioral issues causing those struggles. He just needed glasses. When we began discussing the eye exam appointment, we mentioned that they should bring an OHIP card so that the eye exam could be covered by the government. They were surprised. They had no idea that OHIP covered eye exams for certain age groups. In fact, whenever they had heard anything about eye care services before, they had assumed it was a sales tactic or a gimmick to bring people into the clinic to buy something. Do you think John and Layla are exceptions? No, they're examples of a much larger issue.
Let's take a look at that. In Canada, it's estimated that around 70% of existing vision impairment is correctable with prescription glasses. This means the solution is merely sitting on the other side of existing financial, social, and informational barriers. After eye exam delisting in 2004, the eye care utilization gap widened from 4% to 12% between the lowest and highest income quintiles. Now, if we look specifically at prescription eyewear insurance, only 38% of households who are making less than $40,000 have eyewear insurance. But why does that matter? Well, actual eye care provider use is significantly higher among those with insurance than those without it. Insurance helps get people through the door, and that's how we want Brightside to be.
Now, our nonprofit's primary demographic is the youth, so we want to understand how they are affected. Youth aged from 0 to 19 are covered by OHIP for one comprehensive eye exam every 12 months. On paper, that sounds reassuring, but this does not automatically translate to access. Despite this, almost half of the children in lower income households don't get eye exams before the age of 7, and even less so before the age of 6. When parents were asked if they knew if vision problems could contribute to speech difficulties, developmental delays, and short attention spans, they had no idea. When parents were asked, eye health is often taken for granted, despite its major role in our daily life. And despite that, Ontario parents rarely rank eye health as a top 3 health priority. In fact, only 27% do. That statistic alone highlights the lack of awareness surrounding our eye health in Ontario right now, and that's where Brightside comes in.
Our process follows a 3-stage model. First, we have partnerships with local shelters and community organizations, along with optometry clinics, to develop a clear pipeline for those with unmet vision needs. The organizations we work with are able to share our information directly with clients and are able to fill out our eligibility form. Now, this is not an eligibility form in its strictest sense. It's more so less about screening people out and more about understanding how to best support them. It helps us tailor the care we provide and to help build on existing supports. Now, if you could please take a look at the following pamphlets, this is the type of material that is handed out to shelters and clinics. It includes some preliminary information, our contact details, and most importantly, a QR code that takes families directly to our phone. If you so wish, please scan that QR code now, and we can answer questions on it during Q&A. Our process allows more individuals to become aware about eye health and help them take that first step into the clinic doors without worry. Once they finish up, we get the invoice for all expenses, and we cover it. That's everything, and its simplicity is intentional. We're able to run this process completely remotely. But what are the costs of an initiative like this?
That really depends on the clinics we work with and the pricing we are able to negotiate. Our first and primary clinic partner is Hoover Optometry. We have reduced a package price to about $200 to $250 per patient, and for individuals who do not have OHIP coverage, that can add another $100 to that bill. Our second partner is a local Specsavers, where we have also negotiated lower pricing. This location offers more affordable glasses and is often our recommendation for families who have very young children, so that if they break or outgrow a pair, they have another one, and we can secure about 2 pairs of glasses for around $80 to $120. Remember, people with eyewear insurance are more likely to seek care. In that sense, we want Brightside to function like insurance, reducing the financial barriers so that families can step through those clinic doors without fears. If there are any concerns around sustainability or cost, we also want to highlight that our eligibility form includes questions about current support through Ontario Works, ODSP, and other third-party benefit programs. This allows us to discuss additional options with families and, where possible, help subsidize costs on top of what they already might receive and what they are able to contribute from themselves.
Now, we've mentioned these services quite a bit throughout this presentation, so we just want to briefly discuss them here. Ontario Works and ODSB are support programs that provide financial assistance for individuals with demonstrated financial or social need. These programs can be incredibly important. However, studies have shown that many individuals perceive them as complicated, difficult to access, and limited by strict eligibility criteria. Now, that's not to say that these are unhelpful or ineffective. It just highlights a broader problem, that support is existing on paper, but is remaining out of reach in practice. There are also other local services that exist. One example is the Extended Healthcare Benefits Plan in Kingston, which offers financial support to local residents each year. Now, while a strong program, it again is limited by its lack of awareness or reach in the city, and that it covers all branches of healthcare and not just prescription eyewear. What we want to highlight is that Brightside is not simply repeating what already exists. It is addressing the gaps that these systems continue to leave behind. Many current programs have narrow eligibility criteria, fold eye care into broader support models, or depend on processes that are difficult for families to access and navigate. Brightside offers us something more focused and more usable, a simple, targeted model with clear goals and direct community impact. We understand the importance of eye health, but we also understand the broader potential of an initiative like this. We are not just trying to fund more prescription glasses. We are working to bring more people into eye exams, raise awareness about the importance of eye health, and connect families to other available programs and supports. So far, we've helped around 20 individuals and funded 7 pairs of prescription glasses. For us, this is really great early traction, as we only implemented our services in February. It shows that there's a real need and that Brightside has the capacity to profoundly impact the lives of hundreds of Kingstonians in the near future. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation.
Great job. Questions? Jim?
Very, very compelling initiative, and I think the potential for real impact. In terms of how you're going to have sort of continued support, and I guess if you're sort of moving to some kind of an ask for money, how is that going to work? So you've negotiated these preferred services with a couple of different companies, but I'm just thinking in terms of the structure of the Brightspace initiative. Brightspace is a learning platform. Sorry about that. But yeah, that initiative, just it maybe a bit more detail about how this is going to be structured and your need for money.
Yeah. So, like we said, we have only started implementing our services within February. So we're very young. We have high hopes for the future. We hope to branch out even beyond Kingston in the future. Several communities are in need of these services, and it's less so about funding and more so about educating. And we want people to prioritize their eye health because it has such a profound impact on our lives. Imagine not being able to see. You couldn't do anything. It's severely debilitating. And so our model is we just want to build up traction so that we can facilitate more partnerships. We can eventually become self-reliant on fundraisers, partnering with other communities, such as Relay for Life, for example, at Queens. They raise hundreds of thousands of dollars in cancer donations. And so we want to be able to get to that point where we have our name out there, we're a reliable foundation, and we're recognized for our nonprofit benefits. And so we want to get to that point where we want to advocate for ourselves, but right now we just need those grassroots to be implanted.
Thanks.
Mayor Patterson?
Thanks, guys. A really interesting idea. You talked about how you're working with like youth organizations, youth initiatives, youth shelters. You thought about reaching out to like the schools? Like I'm just thinking that would probably be maybe kind of like a natural partnership there. Just curious to know if that's something you've done yet.
Yeah, no, we've definitely looked into it, and we have reached out to multiple the school board here in Kingston. I actually work with the Running and Reading Club, which works with underserved youth in the community, and so I have discussed with principals at schools and leaders of that organization. It's just a bit tricky getting into schools. Some of the principals have stated that they need verifiable charity organizations that before they can endorse anything or send out emails. So to try and get around that, we have reached out to organizations which send out emails to all the parents in the region. And one person I talked to discussed how they send out emails regarding eye exams and how they should get their children to go and get an eye exam. But the response rate on those is so low. as we see, there has been no tangible impact of these emails that are being sent out. So it's something we'd like to explore. It's just, it's not feasible for us as of right now, and we're not sure if the return on our investment in that would be the greatest.
Can you give me a brief description about the partnership with the eyeglass shops or, yeah?
Sure, yeah, no problem.
You mentioned a package deal. Sorry, I didn't mean to mention
Yeah,
it.
no worries. Yeah, that's fine. So Hoover Optometry is our like kind of primary optometry clinic, and what they are where we conduct our eye exams as well. So once individuals fill the eligibility criteria, we go through them really quickly. We see if they're under 19 or over 64 to see if they qualify for OHIP coverage on their eye exams, and we also see if they receive any other benefits such as we talked about, Ontario Works, ODSP, or if they can contribute anything themselves. We send out an email immediately after they fill out that form, and we just basically welcome them to Brightsite, and we give them the location of Hoover Optometry and send them on their way. Now, when they make a appointment at Hoover Optometry, as we describe in our email, we ask that they note that they are with Brightsite. So once they do that, we have a set deal with the optometry clinic that anyone who comes in under Brightsite gets full access to eye exams, to the entire floor for prescription, for frames and lens shopping and whatnot. And once they pick out their glasses and their lenses or whatever they need, they just send us the invoice via email, and then we e-transfer them, and that's the end of that.
Have you thought about partnering with e-commerce? So I personally, I'm a glasses wearer. I'm wearing contacts right now, but I purchase my glasses through kits.ca. It's a BC-based company. It's all e-commerce, meaning I upload my prescription, they send me glasses 2 to 5 days, and I'm all set to go for under like $60. Yeah. So have you ever thought about such an e-commerce partnership?
Yeah, of course. The only issue we have with partnering with those e-commerce organizations is that people need to get those eye exams first to get those the prescriptions they need to upload to these organizations. Also, when buying glasses, my father stresses this to me so much, is that he really prefers when people, or opticians prefer when people actually come in and buy glasses from them, only because glasses are such an integral part of your life. And even these sitting on my face right now, I want them to be, I don't want to feel them on my face and be annoyed by them, constantly having to readjust them, right? And that's a lot of the problems that you'll see when you're buying from online sources, just because the PD might not be measured properly, or you might not have the correct measurements of the frame, or when you try it on, you might not like it. So there's a plethora of issues that can come with ordering online, and we kind of want to move by those just by directly streamlining people to in-person optometry clinics where we know they can get the best care they deserve.
And I just want to add on to that. The comfort is very important because, like we said, our demographic is the youth, right? So anywhere from 0 to 19 years old, that averages around 10, 11, 12, 13. So these little kids, they're obviously not the most responsible sometimes. So if something's uncomfortable, something's hard to wear, they won't wear it. And they don't know any better. And we want to make that a little bit more easy for them. So we're specializing that care for kids, and usually the parents of those kids also are a little bit misinformed or uninformed about the entire process. So in person is where they really understand what they're getting into, and it feels much less or much more reliable in that sense. Just being in that environment, you're actually doing something instead of just looking online and hoping for the best, you know?
Ben?
Sorry, a quick question. Maybe just a little clarification. Are you guys a non-for-profit or for-profit? And then you were talking about, the patient goes to the clinic and the invoice gets sent to you guys, and then you're going to bill the third-party provider, and then you take a percentage of that? Or I'm just curious about how the revenue model is.
We are a non-for-profit, so we don't get any revenue, and we aren't planning to in the future. This is not something that we think should be profitable in our position. Sorry, could you repeat the latter part of that question?
I was just wondering if you had a revenue model, or if you're just, this is a charity organization.
Yeah. So we just want to preface that we want to act as the pipeline to get into that realm of eye health and eye care. So many people don't know where to go. A reliable way is just email us. And we are knowledgeable about all of the existing programs. We're knowledgeable about what they qualify for, especially if they go through our eligibility form. And we can direct them into the areas that they can actually get help. And that's the main issue here. It's not that these people can't afford prescription glasses. Sometimes, like most times, they can. It's just they don't know where to go, they don't know where to look, and they don't even know it's an issue. It's a total non-thought. So we want to help address that, and we want to change that for sure.
Jim?
A quick suggestion and a question. I don't know if you've reached out to Boys and Girls Club, but that might be one place to go also in terms of trying to get broader outreach and maybe even be able to work with them through their communication network. Is there a place for, and you could even put it out as a design challenge, of developing a sort of platform of frames in particular that were pretty readily customizable, right? So you're trying to avoid here's the one model frame, and I know those, you got that through the Brightside program. But I'm just sort of wondering whether there's some approaches on that end as well, where you could also help try to make those frames more financially accessible, and yet still be stylish. So that's why I say think of it as a platform.
No, absolutely. And style is an important factor. Some people don't think so, but it absolutely contributes, especially to children who are developing their confidence and developing socially. These are important years, and we want to make sure that they like how they look, and that comes with the eyeglasses that they wear. And so basically how it works at this moment is that we get them through the door, they get their eye exam, and if prescriptions are necessary, then we ask them to visit one of the optometry clinics that we have partnered up with, and they can go through a broad selection of the types of frames that they can choose out from. They're usually within the same kind of range of prices, so one frame doesn't cost that much more than another one. Usually the prices come down to the lenses. So we give them that freedom to select what they deem fashionable, what they like to wear, and again with the comfortability. And then hopefully, again, we can branch out, and then hopefully in the future we can make a website or a platform that would make it easier. But at the minute, we're just trying to get this started, get our name out there. And yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Morgan?
I'm going to say super quickly, and happy to discuss this afterwards. As someone who runs a not-for-profit, there is sometimes benefit to be able to create creative solutions to allow you to have some operating costs a little bit. You don't need to be making profit, but making little bits of internal revenue to be able to have that, be able to build that website, scale your team, et cetera. So happy to discuss options on that afterwards, but the values are the most important of making sure you're achieving and doing good. But how do you figure out ways to have that little bit that you can reinvest and continue to grow and make sure it's sustainable, especially from a person and people perspective.
Absolutely.
Happy to
Would love
chat
talk.
afterwards.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, we're actually right on time. And just before we take a 10-minute break, I do want to recognize two members of council that actually have joined us. So Councillor Stephen and Councillor Shaves, thank you so much for joining us. This is a hot ticket, so it draws the big stars. So thank you very much for joining us. So 10-minute break, and again, come on back when you're done. All right, we're gonna get back to work. Boy, was that not a great start? I do not envy the judges. This is going to, this is only the first half. We got a strong second half. So I'll just dispense from any more chat and invite Kingston Care Map to come forward.
Let me know when. Hello, everyone. I'm Evan. This is Mark. And to the left of Mark is Bogdan. I'd like to start off by saying that we're very fortunate. If we're hungry, we know that there's a meal waiting for us in the fridge, or in our case, just outside this room. Not everybody has this luxury, and some of them are just outside this building. In Canada alone, 1.7 million people have reported experiencing homelessness at least once in their lives. This is a staggering figure. To put this into perspective, this is around 13 times the population of the city of Kingston. Food insecurity is an issue that extends beyond homelessness, though. In 2024, 1 in 3 families in the city of Kingston reported experiencing food insecurity. In 2025, we declared a food insecurity emergency. There are many factors that impair a person's ready access to food, not just to food, but other things that we take for granted: shelter, clean water, and so on. And there are social services in place to address these issues, but they might not always be accessible. Or worse, people might not know about them. Martha's Table, the closest food-oriented community service center to this building, is half an hour walk away, closes at 5 on weekdays and at 2 on weekends. Imagine waking up in the miserable Kingston cold, like what we see outside right now, distressed, desperate for a meal, for you to walk for what seems like forever only to realize that that meal that you were looking for is not there. How would you feel? Would you even know where to go next? It's ironic because we have plenty of food to go around in our country. In Canada alone, we produce 3.2 million tons of food waste a year. Let me repeat that figure again. 3.2 million tons of food waste is produced by restaurants, hospitality services, and the like, most of which is perfectly edible. This amounts to $4.4 to $7 billion a year in expenses. And this is unfortunately evidence that economics often beats out empathy. There isn't enough incentive for these organizations to give food to those who need it most. We come with a solution. Kingston Care Map, first and foremost, is a platform to centralize information so that people get what they need when they need it. But furthermore, once we get started and once we start developing our platform more, we will be providing an unprecedented infrastructure for food availability. What is the incentive for restaurants to cooperate with us on this? We'll register as a charity with the Canadian Revenue Agency. This way, every time they donate food, they get a tax receipt. And thereby, they reduce the costs associated with throwing food out, money that they would be otherwise throwing in the bin.
CareMap is designed to work simply, quickly, and when it matters most. Today, 85% of people experiencing homelessness in Canada have access to a smartphone. So we asked ourselves a simple question: why not use that opportunity to help them bring the support that they need faster? CareMap is built to cut through the clutter, centralize essential information, and eliminate wasted time needed for someone who needs help. Instead of searching across multiple websites or going from place to place to place, hoping that something is open, users can immediately search for nearby locations on a single map and get the aid that they need. When someone opens the application, they immediately see a live map of nearby support. If someone needs food or a warm place tonight, they can apply a few simple filters to instantly narrow down the resources that they need. In moments of urgency, every extra minute spent searching becomes another barrier to getting help. CareMap reduces that friction. Users can save trusted locations to the watch list, making all the resources useful not just once, but over time. And what if somebody doesn't know what to search for? We have also included an AI-powered helper that guides them towards the right resources in plain language. Behind that experience is verified local information that can be updated through an admin account for organizations and participating businesses to keep listings, pickup times, and availability current.
CareMap also includes a simple donation system for administrators delivering food to the people that need it most and to community fridges. When an admin wants to make a new donation, they use their phone to scan and basically they use their phone's camera to scan the items, and an AI will go over that and verify the donation, and the system will automatically create a tax receipt. So this way the process is streamlined, it is easy to track. The food is then placed by our volunteers to the nearest community fridge where the end users are notified that food is available and accessible. In situations like this, misinformation can be just as harmful as no information at all. And this is why CareMap is built around verified local listings with service needs that can be updated as conditions change. CareMap is more than a mobile app. It is the foundation of a connected Kingston, where help is easy to find, where food waste is put to a better place, and where help and support is accessible exactly when needed most.
We're going to be dedicating the first 3 weeks of the project development process to validation. The issues that we discuss in this presentation are issues that affect people every single day. However, we want to make sure that we are delivering the best value that we possibly can. The next phase is all about building a foundation for success. We'll be registering with the CRA as a charity. We'll be releasing our app without the initial feature of food distribution. So that way we can generate users and generate feedback to further improve. We'll be generating leads by going to restaurants all around Kingston and inquiring for partnership. And we'll be communicating and coordinating with local organizations to set up the infrastructure to distribute food in our next phase. And the next phase will be all about launch. We will be calling upon the leads that we generated, so that way we can provide an infrastructure for food accessibility that is completely unprecedented anywhere. We built this project around the Kingston Safety and Community Wellbeing Plan in mind. All these points that you see on the screen we got directly from the City of Kingston's website, a plan that you guys proposed. And we hope that throughout this presentation we've addressed exactly how we'll be fulfilling each of these points. The story that I told at the start of a person waking up in the Kingston cold, hungry and desperate for a meal, it's not a story, it's the reality for people like Kirk. Kirk is a man experiencing homelessness who appeared on MSN News a few months back, describing exactly what I described here. I'll keep the conclusion short. Supporting Kingston CareMap is supporting people like Kirk, people that need this help most. You, as the representatives of the City of Kingston, have the choice and the ability to help. Choose Kingston. Thank you.
Hey, let's open up for questions. Bob.
Is there a plan to address the 15% of the vulnerable that don't have a smartphone?
The unhoused, they have communities that they interact with each other in. And yes, there is that barrier for that 15% that might not have access to a cell phone directly. However, because of this community aspect, the people that might not have direct access to a smartphone may be compensated for. And also, because of a public outreach campaign that we're planning as part of our launch, this fact that people will have to use a smartphone to access the fridges that we're planning about will be more or less negated.
Your Worship?
Thanks, guys. Yeah, obviously you've identified a really, critical issue in the community. Can you tell me a little bit more about the community fridges? Seems to be like that's a pretty important logistical piece. So I have food waste, so I get the whole piece, I identify it, and I get the tax receipt, but what's the logistics? So who's coming to pick up the food waste? Where is it going, and how is it distributed from there?
For sure. So As I mentioned in our middle phase, the 5 months of us building the foundation for success, we'll be partnering with community organizations such as there's a recently constructed one, St. Luke's or something like that, St. Vincent, where they are already providing community fridges in their area. And we'll be also partnering with St. Lawrence and Queens. I know a lot of students, they leave behind mini fridges in their dorms and so on. And we'll be placing these fridges in strategic locations around Kingston, for example, along Princess Street. And we'll be equipping these fridges with technology to ensure fulfillment of the orders and also for safe access. Furthermore, the other part of your question was the distribution, right? So,
Or how does it get to the community fridge?
Since we're a charity, we can issue volunteer hours as well. We know that high school students are always looking for volunteer hours. We know that university students, I'm personally a life science student, I plan to go into medicine. And as a medical applicant, it's also very important for people like me and for students like me to accumulate volunteer hours for our application purposes. And we can target these volunteer positions towards high school students and people in programs such as the one that I'm in.
Jim?
Certainly a compelling idea. Have you thought about how this would then align or fit with, for example, Lionhearts, which has a well-established and a food pickup service as well? So,
for sure, Lionhearts can be a partner when it comes to the logistics. Right now, we're still in the stages of figuring out how we're going to incentivize this partnership for them. Perhaps it's also through a tax incentive as well. But because they have this established infrastructure, because they have these existing partnerships, this could be an avenue for us to scale even quicker than what we propose as well.
just as maybe a follow-on, I mean, I guess the question would then be, from their perspective, where's the, or I guess from the community's perspective, where's the unmet need? Where's the gap right now between what Lionhearts has in place and the gap that you might fill?
For sure. Last I was on Princess Street was this morning, actually, and I haven't seen a single community fridge on that street. And there is, one of the issues that we're addressing is the fact that Lionhearts, it's a building down on the other end of Princess Street as compared to where we're at right now. They would have to, people who need this kind of food would have to travel all the way to their location, risking in conditions like this, hypothermia, and this is also a barrier to access these resources. What we're doing is we're making the things that Lionhearts is providing more accessible.
Have you thought about partnering with Too Good To Go or services like that where there's an already established community of vendors, restaurants, small shops? How could you leverage that piece? That's your data source right there. Incentivize in a way that might benefit them through your charity receipts. Is that a piece that you have ever considered?
For sure. They do address a different market. They're not addressing the unhoused. They're addressing people, their end users actually pay for the food. Like, for example, Too Good To Go, they pay for food from groceries and from restaurants that they haven't sold. They can be logistical partners as well. We can also provide them with tax incentive. We can figure out the exact details of this. I'm not going to lie. We have not completely thoroughly thought this out. I want to be open with you. If we'll be collaborating with you as the City of Kingston, I want to establish that relationship of trust. But we have considered them as a logistical partner, and we have also considered that we are fulfilling a different market need than they are. And if their hearts are in the place that they market themselves to be, then I think that they're ready to be partners with us.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Urban Climate Initiative.
Thank you, Craig, and thank you to the judges and the mayor's innovation team for organizing this event and hosting us in this beautiful and historic building. My name is Vidansh. I'm a third-year student studying computing and mathematics, and today I'll be presenting my Urban Climate Initiative, which is a decision support platform for equitable climate investment. So I'd like to begin with a case study. Some 800 kilometers west of this place, in July of 1995, the city of Chicago was struck by one of the deadliest heat waves in American history. It claimed more than 700 lives in just 5 days. But what is interesting in the aftermath of this event is that when these deaths were mapped, researchers noticed clustering in certain neighborhoods. Heat risk is not evenly distributed, and the sociologist Eric Klinenberg actually wrote a rather brilliant paper on that, in which he highlighted that the majority of these deaths came from the Fuller Park neighborhood, where an astonishing 99% of the victims were black. So then it is clear that the issue with extreme heat is not merely a temperature issue. It is shaped by policy decisions and can be improved with the technology we have today. So that is what I will be looking to address. Of course, this begs the question, why? Why is it that some neighborhoods are more vulnerable than others? The three most important factors in my research are urban design and infrastructure. The very design of some of these places are such as open parking lots, concrete slabs, they retain heat rather than spread it out. Environmental exposure and social vulnerability are also key factors, which are a little bit more complicated. But the point I'm making is these differences, you see, are measurable. But cities still lack the tools to effectively act on this information. Introducing satellites. Cities can now measure heat risk from space, which I think is a fascinating concept. Recent advances in open source remote sensing allow cities to measure exactly where heat is clustered. These observations reveal exactly who is at greatest risk, and three of the most important factors are listed up there. And as I made a note in the bottom of this slide, these data sets allow us to measure heat risk at a very granular level and prioritize intervention where it is needed most. So I've had this idea for a while now, and this summer I developed a prototype for the city of Toronto, not far from where I grew up. As it is open source, it is accessible through that link for anyone who wants to view it. I recognize we may not have the time to go over the full thing now, but I'm more than happy to have it up for the Q&A period and answer any questions in that regard. It does exactly what I've just described, uses these indicators, these metrics, to assign a heat risk score to each of Toronto's 158 neighborhoods. And in doing so, it quantifies vulnerability and can help inform equitable decision-making, the kind of things that happen in this room. Now this is Kingston. I built this model a few weeks ago using the same ideas from the city of Toronto. There's a little bit more data here, but as you would expect, we have our strengths and we have our weaknesses. Some of them are not where you would expect, but the goal of this is that if the city of Kingston today had to decide where to spend its next climate dollar, this shows where to start. Because at the end of the day, what this is about is doing the most amount of good for the most amount of people. I took the liberty of brainstorming a little bit where it is that Kingston should invest next. And in the neighborhoods that were the darkest red in the previous slide, I noticed a distinct lack of tree canopy. So the expansion of tree canopy where it matters most would make a significant difference, measurable in weeks, if not months. As well, one of the groups earlier mentioned sunscreens and cooling initiatives, things like that. A map like this would inform optimal placing for these facilities, doing the greatest good for the most people. This could also be integrated into capital planning moving forward, and it can allocate budgets based on impact, prioritizing investments in communities facing greatest risk. So I took the liberty of having a look at the most recent budget tabled by this government in January of 2023. I noticed a $1.7 million commitment to neighborhood parks. Using this model, that money could go a lot further for a lot more people. The goal is not always about spending more, but rather optimizing the impact of our investments, and that is what I aim to address here. So the fundamental goal of this project, I repeat, is to connect every investment decision to its projected impact before the funds are even allocated. And I finish with this. Let's make it happen. Let's bring it to Kingston. My next steps here I'd love to refine the model with municipal data, with some more granular information, as well as pilot the integration within the city. I would love to collaborate with all of you wonderful folks, and as well as domain experts, because I think this is a reality that is affecting more people by the year. And it's fundamental that if the tools are out there, they should be used for an altruistic purpose. And that is what I'll be finishing on. So thank you very much.
Excellent. Questions? Ben?
The heat map you had there, how often is that data refreshed?
Yeah, excellent question, Ben. The source I used for that data was the latest national census, which as of now is 2021. The Statistics Canada is currently in the process of a new census this year, so that will be updated accordingly. I find that to be the most reputable source, especially for socioeconomic indicators. For the empirical heat data, that's collected from satellites from the past 10 years, so summer 2015 to 2025 inclusive.
Jim?
Very intriguing, and yeah, the Chicago example, sort of, I think it was Jane Jacobs talked about that in Dark Ages Ahead. In terms of, so you identify where there's potential challenges on heat vulnerability. Are you planning to provide a capability that you could actually then assess different projects that you might initiate? So you talked about tree canopy and that kind of thing, but have you sort of thought about how you might integrate putting in different options to assess their impact?
Yes, absolutely. That is the next goal of my project. I'd like to create a simulator of sorts to project the impact of the investments we make in the community, because at the end of the day, it's where we invest that determines who and how many we protect, right? So I would like to pilot an initiative, like, for instance, $2 million for tree planting. We could definitely make a simulation. That's something I was working towards, but I realized I lacked the data to do something important. So rather than come up here and lie to you guys and say that, oh, we can do this here, I figured we'd save that for a little bit later. But that is where I am headed. So excellent question. Thank you.
Morgan?
Let's go through the kind of exercise of now you're going and working on implementation and kind of the continued iteration and sustainability of utilizing this tool. Do you imagine it as a internal kind of municipal tool that will be kept and maybe staffed by the city, or is this something that would be used externally? Like, how do you imagine what it could look like, let's say, for the next 5 years?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Morgan, for that question. I'll start with a little bit about me. I've long been motivated by public policy and what it is people do in their communities, that, how they live in their communities and what they can do to kind of inform the places they live in. I think that's the backbone of a strong democracy. And that's why the prototype I've made is open source. Anybody can look at it, anybody can do with what they'd like. But the focus is, of course, for city planners and the elected representatives of these people to optimize the impact of their investments. And therefore, moving forward, I think it'll be a combination of both residents, researchers, and city planners who will use this tool to guide investments going forward. Thank you.
Jim, you have another question?
Yeah, do you have a sense of the tools that are out there that are used by planners right now, planners and designers, construction management and that kind of thing, and how your platform might actually integrate into that existing set of tools?
As far as I'm aware, Jim, these ideas exist independently, right? They're very tough to kind of bring together into one place, which is what I've attempted to do here. And the issue with that is, of course, representatives are busy. The mayor's office is busy, everyone's busy. And it becomes then very difficult to integrate vast spreadsheets of data. along with data sets that maybe were not even designed to work together, into one place. And I think as far as that goes, this is a pioneer in that venture.
Yeah, because I mean, I was thinking like integrating with GIS systems and things that that the city, I suspect, is probably using, and that kind of. It'd be interesting to see, whether you could link them that way.
Yeah, 1,000%. I've used Streamlit and OpenStreetMap. I've been told that the city of Kingston uses Esri. Am I right? Yeah, Esri. Yes, but yes, it could very easily be integrated into that for effective decision making.
Mayor Patterson?
It's a really, really interesting pitch. This is an issue that this is very live. Like I can think of probably a few council meetings in the last year where we've talked about heat vulnerability with climate change and what sort of policies could we introduce. And it's always the issue of, we don't have enough money to do, everything across the city. So being able to target particular areas, I think is really useful. You talked about a heat index, and it's built infrastructure, tree canopy, and then what was the other piece, or was it?
Social vulnerability.
Social vulnerability. What's going into your social vulnerability index?
Right now, the metrics I'm using are the elderly population per neighborhood. So that would be the count of people above a certain age threshold divided by the total population, as well as people living alone, low income prevalency, that, of course, being access to air conditioning, things like that. And recent immigrants, tenants, all of those play a factor. It adds up to a weighted sum, resulting in that final figure you see.
Okay. And I guess my question is, like, the way you've constructed the index and weighted it, is that based on what happened in Chicago, that those were, like, if you were to apply that same approach, you could then forecast, like, this is in a heat wave, this is where we would most likely see severe injury or death. Is that the idea of how you constructed that index?
That is precisely the idea. So based on the results of the Chicago catastrophe, I'd like to prevent that going forward. So that's exactly what we've been doing. So.
Great.
Emile?
You mentioned about Statistics Canada and using satellite data from past 10 years is what you mentioned. So I'm assuming the next set of data comes out after 10 years or during the next census. So how reliable can your proposition or idea be if I'm implementing something 2 years down the line, if my data set is still from 2020, especially with ongoing climate change, ongoing changes to our environment? How reliable can this really be in a particular region?
Excellent question, Emile. I think that's something we should definitely talk about, because that's the whole premise of this project. As far as you're concerned about satellite data, that is updated actually every day. NASA does an incredible job of taking many, many observations, more than we can comprehend. There are more than 1 billion things we can download. So that is updated on a weekly, if not daily basis. But as to your point about the Statistics Canada data set, that is what I've been using currently. However, if I look to partner with municipal governments, I would, of course, use a much more granular level of data. So this is just something I've built for the heck of it, but yes, that is.
Is there an opportunity of setting up infrastructure around the city, around hotspots? Whatever is a hotspot right now, is there a chance of you implementing a tower or some kind of infrastructure to collect data locally and have it as a proprietary data set for your company or initiative?
That's what I'm hoping to do today. I've pointed out the issues, and I'd like to zoom in on them as much as we can, and basically do the greatest good for the greatest amount of people, right? And that is one method of doing so. And with your support, I'd be more than happy to make that happen.
Jim, you had one final question.
Just a very quick. I mean, in a sense, this is all an open loop prediction model, right? Because you're looking at conditions that could contribute to vulnerability. Have you thought about how you could feed in information in terms of reported health incidents, right? So people suffering from strokes, extreme heat conditions, which is then sort of the response, if you want, or the outcome of the current situation.
Yeah, Jim, that's an excellent idea. I'd love to implement that going forward. Currently, I do not have the capabilities to, but that's something that I would be more than happy to look into.
All right, thank you very much. All right. Next up is K Parks. Come on up. They got a working demo. Just don't drop it. Maybe you can put it right in front of everybody. That's great.
Yeah, so we are K Park. We are an AI. Go back. Oh, we are an AI parking assistant. And so my name is Nathaniel. This is Jardesy. This is Rowan, and we're all second-year computer and electrical engineering students. And so the Mayor's Innovation Challenge was geared towards improving the life of Kingston residents. And so I must tell you, whether it's downtown or at Queens, parking is a pain, right? You spend 20, 30 minutes circling around, trying to find a parking spot, wasting gas, and end up parking 15 minutes away, walking 15 minutes to get there to your location. You're like, oh, there's a spot 30 steps from where I was trying to go. And that kind of sucks. And you don't see that kind of interaction and change on a live basis. You have to get there and recognize that it's actually happening. And so my time and your time is way more valuable than that. And it can be better spent enjoying downtown, seeing, well, City Hall, seeing the waterfront, and just spending time with your friends and family. And so K-Parks are made to make parking easier and not so worrisome. You shouldn't be going downtown and worrying, how am I going to find parking? It should be, hey, I'm going downtown. I'm going to have so much fun. I can find parking easily. Don't even worry about it. And so K-Park shows you all available parking lots and streets with lifetime updates to inform you where the parking is. And so I'd love to give you a demonstration of how our site works. So it may be a little bit difficult to see on the computer here, but basically all the green is showing the streets that are open and that there's a lot of spots available. Red is that there's no spots, and yellow is that there's some spots, not as many. And so all the dots are where parking spots would be. And so here you have parking lots, and you can actually get the directions of how to get there from where you are. And here on the right is a sidebar that shows all available parking, like your parking lots and streets, and shows the costs and how long they're open until and whether you need a permit or whatnot. And so we also have a filter, whether you're looking for free parking, which unfortunately there's not much free parking right now. But you know, after 5:30, right? And then we have EV charging, accessibility, or minimum height clearance, because some parking lots are down underground, so you have to be a little bit shorter. And so here we also have a chatbot. So here you can see how many spots are at Beamish Monroe, and it's able to tell you there are 3 spots available. So it makes it all feasible and easy. You don't need to check yourself. You can just ask, hey, is there any spots? Yes, there is. And so we're gonna go straight into a demo of how everything works.
So for example, let's say Nate is he's running late for his lab. He needs to get to Beamish Monroe. Classic Nate. He checks the app. He can see that there's 3 spots available in the parking lot. Let's say a car comes by.
The light turns on,
parking.
and then, wow, it
We
changed.
live update onto our website so you can see there's only 2 spots available. Nate needs to get his hustle on now in case another car comes along. Takes up another spot, and now there's only 1 spot available. This also works for street parking, so obviously these are not real streets that we have these set up on yet, but we'd like them to be. So using ultrasonic sensors, you can park designated spots for street parking. Yeah, that's pretty much it for our demonstration.
They also leave.
Oh, well, yeah, of course.
Of course, you gotta leave. Yeah.
And our third model, which is the one we'd like to implement, is our computer vision AI model, which can recognize cars. So if you want a closer look at everything. Green squares are where it's at high level of confidence, and it updates live on our site every year. So you'll see the car in a few minutes. We'll update it live at our left, and then there's a spot available on the app.
the green squares here are where cars are, and then since the car just left, it went from 6 spots available to 7 spots available. So we really built K-Parks for Kingston, and what that means is that we built it with implementation and feasibility in mind. So we use Kingston open data from their websites and databases. We use simple sensors that were low cost and easy to implement, and we considered ethics, privacy, and inclusion. So we aligned with transportation goals. We want to reduce CO2 emissions from those cars circling around for minutes at a time. And there's no personal data collection, even the computer vision. It recognizes that it's a car, but doesn't collect any license plates or whose car it is. And it supports accessibility by flagging accessible parking lot spots and stuff like that. So this is also a problem financially for Kingston. So take Kingston population, 150,000 people. If 10% of those people say take one trip downtown every day and spend 5 minutes circling around, at Ontario's average wage, that's around $40,000 in lost productivity per day. With our computer vision model, there is a cost with the model as well. So it includes an Arduino Rev Wi-Fi 2, a camera, enclosure for waterproofing, a micro SD card and power supply, and then implementation costs. And that all rounds out to about $165 for each model. And then using this model, we can calculate the savings. So if we assume it saves drivers around 2 minutes each, with the same number of trips, that's around 30,000 minutes saved and $16,000 of productivity saved per day, which means that a single lot pays for itself in around an hour of citywide time.
All right, so in your demonstration, you saw that we have multiple methods for detection. The first being our force-sensitive resistors, which are a great permanent solution for lots with limited entrances and exits. However, they require sort of demolition of asphalt, which can be expensive as well as a construction concern. The second being our ultrasonic sensors, which are actually already used in cities like Ottawa for the Rideau Center. They have parking garages that track vacancy of different spots. So we know that this is a tried and true method. The issue with that is you need one ultrasonic sensor per spot. So that's not really feasible if you want to do something like parallel parking situations where there's not designated spots for each driver. That's why we sort of decided that the AI camera is really the best option for this. It's the most versatile. You can use a camera for the entrance and exits of cars through parking lots, as well as once trained, it can recognize entire street sections and determine whether spots are available for curbside parking as well. So to move forward, we'd like to do sort of a larger scale trial run on the Queen's campus using a few parking lots. This would allow us to further train our AI model so that it has a higher confidence rate in its selection for open spots. And then next, we could move on sort of seamlessly into downtown parking lots. With the already trained AI model, it would really just be up to installation. And then finally, to sort of integrate this into all Kingstonians' lives would be integrating these methods of sensing onto just normal street sections everywhere, so that no matter where you're going, you can get directions and the closest parking spot to where you need to be wherever you are. So yeah, that's our project. We'd like to stop wasting time looking for parking and use K-Park.
Thank you. All right, questions? Jim.
I always have questions. I mean, intriguing idea. Then the wagon me has to say that you could be watching that pile of snow that's burying the 5 parking spots in Mitchell Hall right now. I hope it's paying parking. Anyway, I mean, with respect to the the force sensor, have you thought about all season kind of challenges with that?
I think we used our prototype to explore multiple methods for sensing, but like we said, we think that the camera is really like the future of making these decisions and sensing these things. So the force sensitive resistor was mainly for demonstration purposes because we can't use the camera to detect our little toy cars.
Yeah.
But, oh, sorry.
No, keep going. I had a follow on, but just keep going, yeah.
But it is used a lot, as well as like, if you've seen a lot of those malls where it's multi-staged, and there's a billboard saying how many cars are on each level. That's what they use, and it makes it very easy to know how many cars on each. It's just based off of weight, and so the weather wouldn't particularly be too impactful.
Okay, because the follow-on that I had is there an opportunity to also work with Kingston Parking Services, right?
Oh, for sure.
So in other words, this could be, so part of the value proposition might be more efficient deployment of the parking, I forget what the name is, but of the parking people that issue tickets, for example. So
Yeah,
that you
no,
can
for sure.
actually monitor.
That was another thing we wanted to go into and dive into is working with them to use it for paying for parking and tickets and recognizing this person hasn't paid their ticket, their time is overdue. We need to be able to flag them and recognize. So instead of people having to go on over to check their tires, maybe if you scratch off their tire, you're able to get a live update saying, hey, this car is expired, you need to go ticket them.
Just to add on to that, from my experience back from my hometown, people will pay for convenience. So something like this, back maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago now, that's a long time, sort of mobile payments were just coming through. So instead of having to go to the pay meter, you could just download this app and it was subscription based and you had to pay a small subscription, but that meant for your convenience, you could just pay for your parking on your app. So this same sort of idea could be used for our camera model and our website, K-Park. So you could just pay on the app and there's no external third parties needed.
Mayor Patterson?
There's probably not a day that goes by where I don't have someone complain to me about parking in the downtown. So I think it's a really cool idea. I've seen variations like on the parking lots, but the idea you could do this with on-street parking, I think is really interesting because there's actually a lot of on-street parking available in the downtown. It's just, you just don't know what street, what block can you find a spot. So could your AI actually could you type in, this is where I want to go, and then it could tell you the closest on-street parking spot?
It can do that, yeah.
And it's, and again, updated in real time, just like your parking lot example here.
What's up? It's right here. It's up there.
No, that's really cool. And then have you thought how many cameras, AI cameras would you need? Let's say that you wanted to blanket like the downtown, say a 5 block by 5 block radius. Do you have an idea how many cameras you would need to be able to get that system to work?
So for the cameras, obviously there's sections of downtown that are parking and then non-parking. So you'd probably want to set up a camera for each section or stretch of street side parking. So let's say there's a stretch of 10 car parking on the right side and then there's an intersection and a meridian. You would want one camera per section of parking because with the AI, it can calculate, the distance between cars so that you know when there's actually space for a spot. Even when there's not designated spots with lines drawn on.
Morgan?
Mine is kind of really interesting, and I think where to go next, because part of me just kind of wants to go do it by myself and go do the model of going out and building that business case further of, okay, how many cameras, and now adding in the installation labor and seeing what that all looks versus, you've done some good kind of the initial modeling on value of saved time. I'm very interested to see what that looks like all together. So you've got the starting pieces, but keep going on it because I'm interested to see what that ends up looking like. Because some of the numbers thus far look very promising. Now let's see the whole case.
Emil?
My question is more on the lines of maintenance. You're using a Arduino Uno RV2 Wi-Fi version, which means it constantly needs a connection for real-time updates. How do you mitigate, first of all, where do you source the Wi-Fi from? Is it from nearby shops? Is it from vendors that provide Wi-Fi to you? How do how do you provide the real-time updates? Yeah, you can answer the question.
So the cameras themselves are through an app, and so they don't need to worry about the Arduino at all. That's more for the force sensitive resistors and the ultrasonic sensors. So if we were to implement in the future, it'd just be the cameras, and you wouldn't need to worry about the Arduino. But if you were to add them in, I think we would try in partnership with either trying to find a service that can allow us to use their Wi-Fi using or anybody like yeah.
Would you be able to use CCTV cameras at shops currently to leverage their, because now you have a data source to pull, and almost all shops downtown have some sort of camera in or outside their shops?
No, for sure, yeah. So our camera isn't limited just to ours. We can also use others if there's already pre-made and set-in cameras, which can be very useful and cost-effective and easy to implement going forward.
It also raises the fact that some people would have concerns about having, constant surveillance. Like, it's not 1984. We're not in a George Orwell novel. But the data would only be used for parking unless we were partnered with an organization like the City of Kingston, where the surveillance would be useful actually for mitigating these crimes and I mean negative aspects that are bound to happen downtown. So they're sort of a multifaceted installation that could be used for multiple things.
Have you talked to shops if they're willing to provide infrastructure for you to implement this at their place?
We have not at this point, but that's a great idea to move forward.
And for your data sets for your computer vision model, where are you sourcing the data from? Is it open source, or are you?
It's just open source and used like through YOLO. And
so how do you commercialize it? Because there are open source licenses on it. So would you collect your own data set?
We would collect our own data set and train them. We've previously done that for other projects, and so it's not completely new. And so it wouldn't be too difficult to train our own model and have it detect all the cars, trucks, motorcycles, anything.
Especially why we'd want to sort of start smaller scale, like just on Queen's campus, and then once we know that it's reliable, then we can actually move forward into implementing it into the different areas.
Yeah, for sure.
Ben?
I guess I understand the cost-benefit analysis to be a parking garage. There's 100 spots, there's 80 left. Probability of getting spots pretty high. But the cost to implement this on the streets of all downtown, and then the reliability, you could be driving down Princess Street, there's a spot 2 down, but there's 1 car ahead of you, and it takes that spot. The cost to put those cameras up there, and then the reality of actually getting a spot, like, is this gonna be real time? Like, I will know I'm on Princess Street, and the next block down, there's 2 spots. And if it gets filled on the way down, it will be updated that it's on?
It'll be all updated once we have all the hardware and all the surveillance set up. So then it would all update real time. Right now we were just using test demo data to show that here is a spot, it's fully red, and there's no spots along this stretch. But then once we have real data, then you would be able to see that it's updating live and changing.
Follow-up question to that. Would you consider implementing this right at the parking meter? Parking meter is the source for the camera. And so there will be one every so often down the line where the customer has to go to pay. So would that be a possibility too?
So we figured that it would be best to implement an online payment system so that the parking meter is kind of like an obsolete thing. I mean, there's plenty of light poles and structures that are already standing that make it easy to set these things up. And yeah, you want a higher vantage point for the computer vision, because then you can actually calculate a wider area per camera. If you're down by like a parking meter, you can only see so much before you're obstructed by parked cars.
All right, thank you very much. All right, our last presentation. Welcome up Kingview. Okay, if you want to get started.
Good morning, everyone. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you all for organizing this amazing competition. We're really grateful to be here in such a beautiful building. We're Kingsview. My name is Vihan. This is Jack. This is Finn. And this is Don. So I want you to imagine a brand new 12-story proposal on Princess Street. The town hall has thrown together a new public conference so that everyone can see the proposal. And a bunch of citizens are there, and one citizen particularly in the back, he raises his hand and says, how is this high-rise going to affect the sunshade on my balcony? How is this development going to affect the traffic in my neighborhood area? He doesn't have any answers because there's no real-time data to support this right now, and it's not instant. The city planner says they'll do an analysis of both the shadow and the traffic, and then the report will come out in a couple of weeks. And nobody goes home with answers that day. It's not instant, that's the problem. And so a couple weeks later, the report comes out. It's very, very long. It's really hard for the residents to visualize, and it's very hard for them to interpret. So they go home without basically having none of their questions answered. So that's where Kingsview comes in. Kingsview is a live 3D urban development platform, which is for everyone else but the professionals. So we target mainly the residents, the counselors, and the real business owners that are affected by the majority of these decisions. Every day, like, this is gonna affect their commute, this is gonna affect their views, and everything like that, and they don't have live information about it. It's specifically made not for professionals because they have their own tools, and it's very professional tools that are backed by, decades of research and stuff like that. So we wanted to target this specific market. So the way that it works is that you place a building right away. You can describe a building with your own voice, and then you can right away get analysis on traffic, wind, and a lot of different things. Next slide. So right here you can see a live 3D map of Kingston. This has about 4,700 real buildings that is sourced from open source data. And you can see, you can go through this entire map, and it's very accurate. The buildings are very accurate. You can go through different viewing positions, so light mode or satellite mode, and see different days of time to visualize the shadows better. The next thing you can do is hop right into Street Views to see this entire thing through the perspective of a real person. And the POV is the FOV is really human realistic to the eye. And now I'll be passing it on to Jack Lay for more features.
Yep. Thank you, Vihan. So our first feature is the build mode. With the build mode, even though you're not a city planner, you can build your own building in 3D. You can change the size, the shape, and also the height. You can also change the window size and the materials. And this material comes in handy when we do the environmental impacts report. You can also add in different models. You can generate your own model, be as creative as you want. And there's also trees, and these trees are actually pulled from the open data set of Kingston, and these trees are specifically made and grown in Kingston. And also, you can plan this building onto the map, and it will show you a realistic 3D view of what the building will actually look like. And in the future, we will integrate other professional software to actually integrate their building onto the map, not just using our product. And we have a voice control features where you can just talk to it, give me a building of 10 floors, and it will give it to you, which can improve the accessibility of our app. Next slide. Yeah, and furthermore, we also have a tree planting advisor. For a tree planting advisor, you describe, hey, what tree should I build, and how can I minimize the environmental impact? It will fetch the different trees in Kingston and give you recommendation of which tree to plant and how much you should plant to maximize the environmental benefits. You can also add in your own trees as well. And then let's go back into the city view. As you can see here, we have a little timeline where you can click the play button and the building is being built up. And on the right side, you can see the environmental impact is increasing over time. And this shows how much water is being used, CO2, and also the energy consumptions. And you can click to generate a quick report through a PDF, which gives you a very high-level explanation of whether or not this is a good decision and whether or not this is a good location to plan the building at. Next slide. Yeah, and we also have shadow and sunlight analysis. So you can, again, you can change different time of the day. And then also, if you remember, like this building is actually proposed to the mayor last November, and we rebuilt this model to see if this is actually a good decision. So you choose the specific time of the day, you run the analysis, and as you can see here, these buildings are the ones that's being affected by the shadow. And throughout a different time of the day, here's how the shadow is impacting. It's very annoying, especially as a citizens that your entire nice morning view is blocked by a big building. And you can actually see that by jumping straight into that angle and see what it actually looks like from a citizen's perspective. So, and here you also have real-time city zoning. So we take the open data sources from Kingston, such as city zoning, a different zone, and also we have the wind, the traffic, and all this data is being included, which can give you a really smooth visualizations of different zone you can build a building at, and also which building is being affected in the local area. Now I'll pass it on to Dan to speak more about our 3 layers of analysis.
Yeah, so the 3 layers of impact first include drainage. So we take data in terms of soil as well as rainfall. Next is stakeholders, so local businesses in the local area as well as residents. So the colors represent the different stages of the impacts as well as traffic impact. So we take data, we train machine learning models as well as data analysis on real-time data for Kingston, for example, congestions, free flow. So the colors on the map represent the traffic flow. And let's say a building is being placed, you can see real time which intersection is getting impacted for that traffic in terms of the different congestions and road blockages that need to be put into place.
And again, we also have a street level walkthrough, as we already mentioned. So let's jump onto the next slide, which is an overview of our project about all the features that we have. So the 3D building models, the build mode, the noise level, we have the environmental impact, we have the city zoning, we have the traffic report, we have the tree planting, and also street level views, as you can see here. Now I'll pass it on to Vihan, to Dan again, to talk us through our visions for this project.
Yeah, so why does Kingston really need this? So 4 benefits: faster and clearer planning conversations. So 2D maps, instead of using 2D maps, we have 3D maps with actually real-time data, a better public understanding of proposed development. Instead of using old PDFs, we have new data like noise, shadows, and real-time data to visualize this. Earlier visibility into traffic and environmental trade-offs, so every stakeholder is put into place and there is no guesswork in that needs to be there. And last but not least, better public trust, so stronger trust between residents, planners, and councillors, because let's say councillors are going for votes, every stakeholder needs to be accounted for and facilitated for.
Yep, and the way that we're gonna bring it to market is first we're gonna spend the first month of summer to strengthen the platform. So we're gonna, with the support for summer program and with the funding, we're gonna spend roughly $3,000 on the infrastructure, the cloud infrastructure, the database, and also making sure that all the services and the data source are ready to be implemented. Then we're gonna move on to the pilot with a stakeholder. With a stakeholder, we're gonna use around $2,000 to host session, demos, and workshop for local developers and for local city planners for them to actually try out the project and give us feedback. And our project is actually integrated with these standard software on the market. So Rhino, Blender, and other software, we can actually take their building model and plant it into our project. Then we go to public facing. Public facing, basically, we're gonna release this to the public. Everyone see it. Anyone can view it from anywhere, and they're gonna give us feedback. So with this feedback, we're gonna spend extra money on getting the internal data, getting data analytics, carrying out interviews with people to actually understanding what their needs are. And we're gonna spend the next few months to actually iterate upon that need so that it can really be fully ready for development this time next year. So I'll pass on to Vihan to close this off.
Yeah, so we believe this is an awesome tool for the residents and councillors and business owners of Kingston. It provides a really good visualization into everything that's going on around you and what's going to be impacting you in the long term. Planners have tools, developers have tools, but I think Kingsview is a tool for everyone else. Thank you. We're Kingsview.
And we are Kingsview. Yes, sir.
All right, questions?
Yeah, and we're open to any questions.
Jim.
Yeah, very impressive package, and you know, the level of the different kinds of things I was thinking you could get together also with the heat vulnerability. You could start pulling some of those models in. For things like the drainage data, I'm just curious, like where you're actually getting that data to predict the drainage profiles.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Right now, we're getting the soil data and also the sewer system of Kingston. We take those data set and we actually put it into AI for it to analyze the possible impacts. Because of course, when the building is being built, there'll be extra water usage and there might be drainage that might be happening. So behind the scene, this drainage map that we implemented on the back end can visualize how it's being implemented, and that's where we get our numbers from.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Stop. Your worship.
Sure. Really interesting, guys. Yeah, like, I mean, obviously there's always lots of interest when a new building, a tall building is built in the downtown, for example, and people want to try to understand it. So do I understand that if an application comes forward, all the data then is implemented by like the city planning staff from the stakeholder? So if I'm an average resident, I can observe, but I can't go in and like experiment or change any of those variables and see how it would vary. Is that right?
Yeah, so just so I understand your question, you're asking that a normal person like yourself going onto the app can change the variable to see how it impacts the possible city building?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, if I'm just an average user, I'm a resident, I can go in and I can see an application based on the data that's been inputted, but I can't actually go in and change to be like, oh, I don't like it to be a 12-story building. I'm like, well, maybe if it was a 10-story building, I would be okay with it. Can I adjust those parameters, or is that only the city planning staff that implement that and I observe it?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Like right now, we're doing it one-sided. So of course, you as a individual, you can go into the app. It's actually deployed online right now for you to see. And in the future, we have city planners. Let's say, for example, they propose a new building, they import it into our app, and then as citizens, you get a news like, hey, there's a new building being built, and then you go into the app, and we will, in our vision right now, we will implement a little chat app where you communicate with the city planner, and you say like, hey, I live in this area, and I think this building model might affect my business. So we will allow that two-way communications further on as we implement the project better. Let's
Ben?
To build on that question, so how reliable is the data? Like talking about the wastewater. So if you're going to put in a big building, it's just AI generating that the water, this much more wastewater is going to be coming off the building because residents might use this to come to council to say like this building gets built, all this wastewater is going to go there. The sewers can't handle it, but if the data is not right, like with verification, is there?
So for our current model, like of course we use AI, but then we have like the previous data set, which we're gonna train the model on. For example, like the heat map that you guys were just talking about, we're gonna actually build local machine learning models on each of these, for example, water usage and drainage. And of course, data, there's AI, it can make mistake. So for this specific project, we actually collaborate with a professor who's specialized in urban planning. And he say that maybe this is not like totally like an accurate kind of like point of view yet, but it gives you like a holistic view and just an overview, like a big picture of what might happen. And based upon that, let's say there's a possible drainage impact, then we can direct like the professionals to actually look into it further. But if there's none, then I think we can be very confident that there will be no drainage impact, and we wouldn't. Yeah.
A lot of the part is also deterministic. So a lot of it is also based off like the area of the site and all of that different stuff. It's not fully just AI generated. That's a very small part of the actual drainage analysis. I think we have 3 separate layers of it actually. So we have how much area the building is taking up, how much water isn't gonna soak into the ground anymore, and there's one more that I'm forgetting now, but.
It's also like the material, like I mentioned before, the material being used in the building is going to impact like our own algorithm. So there's a lot of features that's being implemented.
And just to follow on that, it's not open source, so people wouldn't be able to say, put things in there.
Yeah. Right now it's only developed by us.
Neil?
What is your revenue model? How do you monetize this?
Yeah, I think this is a tool that should be accessible to everyone in Kingston. And from a developer's perspective, as we scale up this project, it will cost us roughly $3,000 from my estimation to get the data, real-time data, paying for API services, paying for cloud infrastructure and database, maintaining the database. It will cost roughly $3,000 a year. So I think that is a cost that can be managed by the city of Kingston. Yeah, and I think this will bring like such a big impact onto the population, and everyone can access it anytime, anywhere through the software.
Have you talked to City of Kingston about this?
Sorry?
Have you talked to City of Kingston?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Craig before. That's why we're here.
So if you either, so your runway time with whatever, if you guys win, is 2 to 5 years, let's say. What happens after that? What is your scaling plan, or yeah, what's your next steps with this? Because clearly you need to monetize this somehow to gain revenue and keep updating data sets, bring in more. Again, that's your data set is your whole business. And so how do you keep going? How do you expand?
That's a great question.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, expanding to different cities is obviously a great way to scale. We can also charge a premium on top of that because the main thing with this app is that you build like an insane amount of public trust. They can go in and see anything, visualize stuff, and like there's literally notifications on new developments that are coming out. And I think the public is really involved in that way. And I think governments would like to support that way of building more public trust.
So if you have a freemium/premium model, why would I, as a consumer, an everyday person, be willing to pay a subscription fee or some kind of fee to access data? What, like, is there a recurring revenue piece, or is just I pay one time, I'm out of there?
Yeah, I would say it's a subscription like system because like Vian just say, we have notifications and we can actually build upon that. So right now we have like traffic impact, water drainage, and also environmental impact, but we can have different models where it dive into in-depth analysis. And I think as a user, you want these more in-depth knowledge and insight, then you have to pay for a different price category to get these data. And also, like you say, input from the citizens. We don't want like, you build up one building and then you get bombarded with like 1,000 messages saying like, oh no, don't do this here, right? Then maybe we can limit the amount of messages or recommendation that citizens can be inputted into the app. And maybe if they spend more money on the app, on the subscription, then they have like maybe more tokens, for example, to have more input into a specific development project.
What is your incentive on the customer though? Like what is the customer getting on a recurring revenue basis for this? Like why not target city planners or people who can actually make those changes, or is building those infrastructure and instead of regular customers like you and me?
Yeah, like especially like if this will be targeting specifically for the citizens of Kingston and those within Kingston. And let's say if you pay some extra money and you get some input into the project, then I think you can have a say in what is being built. And I think the most important thing we have to come back through is the fact that you can visualize all of this, which is something that we have never seen before in any kind of software. And the fact that this is integrated with Blender, Rhino, or Autodesk, that is really cool. And I think this can bridge the communication gap between the city planners and also the citizens. And then from there, I think there's just so much more initiative that we can do more research upon, which I believe the summer program is for. You guys gonna give us hope, guidance, and we're gonna continue work on this project and making it more reliable and more suitable for anyone to use.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah. Well done.
Thank you so much.
Well, that concludes our presentations. I do not envy the judges. This is by far the most extraordinary group of projects I think we've seen in the 9-year history. So what's going to happen next? So the judges are going to take a break to deliberate. I can smell shawarmas coming from, it's making me more and more hungry. Please stay, have some lunch, have some fun, meet your colleague, other entrepreneurs, other inventors. Enjoy yourself. We'll be back here at 1 o'clock for the big announcement. So thank you very much. All right, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed your lunch, courtesy of Shelby Shawarma. Delicious. Great, great lunch. One small item just before we invite Mayor Patterson up. Just wanted to say a special thank you to Julia, to Amanda, and sorry, who's? Colin's here. I couldn't see you behind the computer screens. Thank you so much. Colin always delivers on the tech stuff. That's my worst nightmare is to turn the system on and nothing works. He seems to be able to handle that. And Julia, with all your coordination, just extraordinary work. So without further ado, I can tell you what a tough job this group had. Mayor Brian Patterson.
All right, thanks, Craig. Well, this, in my view, was the best edition of the Mayor's Innovation Challenge that we have had in 9 years. So that's a big congratulations to all the teams. I thought we saw 8 amazing ideas and 8 great presentations. And you did make our work as judges extraordinarily difficult. So first of all, I want to say to all of you, obviously there can only be 2 winning teams, but all of you are deserving. And so I hope I have a chance to be able to connect with all of you afterwards, to encourage you, to connect with you, and I hope that all of these ideas are able to continue. I do want to say a few big thank yous. First of all, I just want to recognize again the partnerships that make today possible. So Bob and your team at Bell, thank you. You guys have sponsored this event every year. We so appreciate that support. This couldn't happen without you, so thank you for that support. Really appreciate it. Really do. Jim and your team at DDQIC, I mean, this is like it's a marriage made in heaven. I tell you, it's just amazing to be able, to me, we've set the bar for what cities and universities can do together. And so just so appreciate your support in everyone. And of course, that one of the prizes today is offered by you guys. And of course, Ben, the whole team at Kingston Economic Development, offering entrance into the summer program, and just your support and vision that you understand how what we're doing today very much contributes to economic development in the community. Amazing. So thank you, folks. Again, a big thank you to our staff. Craig, you always do a great job with the MC piece, and so appreciate your guidance, and it's fantastic work. And Julia in my office that basically put together the 1,000 details to make this happen. It always runs like clockwork. So Julia, thank you again for your amazing support today. It's awesome. Okay, so here we go. So we saw 8 pitches today. So our first pitch was Pinpoint from Ayush, Madhav, and Farhan. Great identification of a real problem. You hit how the housing issue is such a big issue in Kingston. A really great technological solution and a piece to be able to create that connection. The need was there. Really great stuff. Second, we heard from Kingston's Sun Safety Squad, Megan, Harmeet, and Cheryl. Loved it. Honestly, I was just already thinking about this summer and like the number of times that I'm caught outdoors without sunscreen. It's one of those just light bulb moments, and we're going to want to chat with you about how we want to see this happen. Ultimately, feasible, practical. So we want to see that in Kingston. Great stuff. Third, we heard from Driftline. Driftline, you guys had a great presentation, a great competitor analysis. Very, very, very great. Great tech. Just loved it. And I mean, right now, the number of complaints we're getting about potholes, I would love to take you guys with me everywhere I go in the city. So really, really appreciated that. Fourth, we heard from Brightsight. What a high impact idea. Ultimately, that you notice that, okay, there's fundings and supports available, but there's a gap. Right? And how do you bridge that gap so that people are actually able to connect with the support and be able to identify such a critical piece for young people in particular to be able to get off to a good start with their education, being able to have access to eye care. Number 5, we had Kingston Care Map, David, Mark, Bogdan, and Evan. You guys, such a passionate presentation. I think that was really, I mean, what I got is just, this was more than just a pitch, right? You could feel it in your bones. And I really loved the incentive piece and the tax receipt piece, and you're already thinking about how we get volunteers and how do we make all of those elements work. So that was great. 6, we heard from the Urban Climate Initiative, Vinash. What a really exciting technology using satellite data. I'm already thinking about the different applications and data uses we can use. Really great, exciting stuff. Then pitch number 7, K-Park. Oh my gosh. Wait till the Downtown Business Association hears about you guys. This will just be so exciting. Again, I've seen different pieces on like the parking lots, but I just see the potential on on-street parking. I just think that there are businesses in the downtown that would absolutely love to have something like this. So I think it's a great community piece. And then, so that was Nathaniel, Darcy, and Rowan. And then finally, pitch 8, Kingview, we had Jack, Phineas, Vihan, and Don. What a slick tech. You guys gave me the iPad and I was like playing around with it during your presentation and checking out. Very user-friendly, very easy to work with. You know, I could think about how you could hand some of that to residents in the community and they would just do great work with that. Oh man, we deliberated for a long time because you made our job really difficult. In the end, there can only be 2 winners. So first, I'm going to announce the winner of the Dun & Dishpande Innovation Center Prize. Again, this is for admission into the QFII program. Again, a great platform to be able to grow, develop the idea, and really showcase your idea, your entrepreneurship, and innovation. So the winner of the DDQIC prize for the 2026 MIC is K-Park. And then our second prize today is the Public Sector Innovation Prize. This comes with a $10,000 cash prize, thanks to sponsorship from Bell, and also admission into the Summer Company Program at Kingston Economic Development. The winner for the 2026 MIC is Brightsight.
All right, that concludes our event. To all of the students who pitched, extraordinary work. I'm going to follow up with a few of you. I got some interest in some sponsorships. I think we can make a couple of projects go. This has been an extraordinary year. Thank you for all of your efforts. I appreciate that, you know, you're also going to school, you have exams and essays and other work, you have jobs. It really is quite exciting for me to see that kind of energy and that kind of innovation. So thank you very much. Judges, thank you. Sponsors, thank you. Have a great afternoon. Thanks very much.